Welcome back, guys, here on Birds 365. We are joined by Hunter Brody. Hey, Broads, from the best show ever. It's been a couple of minutes, Broads. How you been?
I've been good. What's happening? I'm using my phone, by the way. Does this sound okay?
Oh, yeah, sounds great.
Okay, cool.
Amazing world where our phones. Perfect video, perfect audio.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, I want to get your thoughts because you get to talk to the constituency of this city all the time, Hunter Brody. Where are we on the angst level? Are people, and how many times, by the way, have you heard it's tough to beat a team 3 times?
Oh, yeah. I mean, every caller opens up with that one. See, the thing is, yesterday, the good old Philadelphia Flyers played a game at 1. And that ended at 4. So we only had about a 2-hour span to catch the feel of the fan base. So I think today will be a better tell. But I think there's some nerves out there. We put up a Twitter poll. It was about 60% felt good. 40% was feeling a little bit nervous about it. I think this is great. Look, other than Seattle, this was the best situation you could have got. So I don't get the – yeah. I
think it's even better than Seattle because Seattle has more weapons. So you never know if Gino gets hot, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. I love that running back, the young running back. Now, he's not Barkley, but they have more weapons throwing the football. So when this started, Hunter, I said, Giants are probably the best first-round matchup for the Eagles. No question in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you brought in Sue and you brought in Joseph for a reason earlier in the year to help stop the run, and if you could stop Saquon Barkley and force Daniel Jones to beat you with his arm, and, I know he's been utilizing his legs a little bit, but I don't think that him alone, if you take away Barkley, is going to be enough to beat you. And honestly, even if Barkley does do a little bit of something, I look at this matchup and I think the Eagles can overpower them as long as they do what they're supposed to do.
All right, I'll do the devil's advocate thing for you. These two teams played in this stadium that they'll be playing again on Saturday just 10 days ago. And the Eagle that got the game ball for our biggest contribution to the win was probably Jake Elliott and his 5 field goals. The Giants are actually going to be adding to their defense that continued to force the Eagles into kicking field goals the other day with guys who were either rested or out and injured and hurt. How do we not know that this isn't another field goal fest for the Philadelphia Eagles on it?
I have to think that there's a correlation between Jalen Hurts taking snaps again for the first time since the injury and maybe the lack of creativity in the red zone. Jalen Hurts in the red zone and this offense and what they can do when Hurts was healthy was phenomenal and sensational. And I would have to imagine that part of why maybe things stalled out a little bit and didn't look as perfect was, let's get Jalen Hurts out there. Let him throw a little bit. We're just going to keep it vanilla. We're not going to do anything crazy, put anything on tape. And I'd be stunned, I guess, to kind of answer the question. I'd be stunned if you see a similar game plan and calls that we saw in that Week 18 game that we see here this upcoming week. I don't think that that's what Steichen and Sirianni is going to do. And I think you'll see a little bit more of that success that we saw when Jalen Hurts didn't have that shoulder injury this upcoming week. Maybe I'm crazy to think that way, though.
I don't think you're crazy. I think we're going to get the normal Eagles game plan. I think the zone read mechanics are going to be back on the table. But now here's my concern, Hunter. Jalen Hurts is not 100%. He's not going to be 100% until this run is over, whenever that is. The Giants are the Giants. And Wink Martindale changed it up, threw a curveball at Minnesota to try to deal with Justin Jefferson. They did a tremendous job, but they're going to be back to what they are against the Eagles. And that means blitz, 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 blitz. And there's going to be a target on Jalen Hurts' shoulder. Say Kayvon Thibodeau gets loose. Bang. Tackle on the shoulder. Nothing untoward. I'm not saying they're going to take shots at him from that perspective, but how concerned are you about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the reality of the sport, right? It's football. Things happen. But I think that we all know it, right? No one's going to be shocked that they're going to send guys at Jalen Hurts' direction. So I think at that point, it's on Hurts, of course, in game to make the right decisions when it's happening. But, Sirianni and Steichen and everybody else involved need to be ready for the moment and match that. We know what they're going to do. They're not going to just surprise. They're going to send pressure at Jalen Hurts. So I think it's all week long, you had the preparation to make sure, that you put yourself in the best position to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, of course, guys are going to win their one-on-one matchups. Guys are going to make plays out there for the Giants, but that's football. You kind of have to kind of just try and counter that as much as humanly possible and be prepared for it.
One of the things we saw in the Giants-Vikings matchup the other day, as John pointed out, less blitzing, which is completely flying in the face of what the Giants defensive coordinator has done for his entire career. So give him the credit for adjusting to it. And they wanted to try and limit Jefferson. You can't completely shut down Jefferson, but limit him, and they did. So TJ Hawkinson went for like $125. Oh, by the way, and the quarterback got too comfortable throwing to him because he threw up to him on a 4-yard pass when you needed 4th and 8, needed 8 yards.
By the way,
shockingly, Hawkinson was open. He was open all freaking day. Of course, they're going to let him be open if he wants to break off the pattern at 4 yards on 4th and 8. Idiots.
Before you go on, that was an awful. I have to rip Kevin O'Connell. Next gen, a bunch of people put the next gen stats. I don't know if you saw it, but they showed the sort of the X's and O's of the play developing. That was a 4th and 8 play. He's got Adam Thielen running an out 25 yards down the field. Justin Jefferson running an out 25 yards down the field on the other side. And he's got nobody to throw it. That was, look, Cousins has got to throw the ball up. Throw it up to Jefferson. Maybe it happened. I'm not excusing him, but that was an awful play call by the head coach in the biggest spot of the season. And I thought we saw both young coaches who everybody loves, Mike McDaniel as well in Miami. They just imploded and they're bogged down with the play calling. Sorry, that's my pet peeve. CEO coaches forever. I just wanted to say that, but what was Jody asking you? I had to get that off.
How big a game is Dallas Goedert going to have? If TJ Hawkinson could go for $125, how big could Goedert be this week against the Giant defense?
Absolutely. I think he was licking his chops, realizing that there was a good opportunity for sure. But I think the one thing you talk about Jefferson and all, and obviously the talent that he is, but just the fact that there's so much here to cover. If you take away AJ Brown, I'm just saying, then you have Devonta Smith, you have Goddard, Miles Sanders obviously is a weapon in the run game. There's just so much more in regards to depth on what the Eagles provide compared to the Minnesota Vikings. So, but yeah, I mean, I do think that that's something that you have a big opportunity for sure is Dallas Goedert. Get him the football, let him run. You know what I love? I love the screen that works for him. You get him the football, he's making it happen.
Yeah.
So I think that there's definitely a golden opportunity for him to thrive, without a doubt. And, maybe if you get him the ball quick, that can help out Jalen Hurts too. Feel comfortable, getting the rhythm, finding his targets nice and early. So I'm fascinated. I got a lot of belief in the offensive coaching staff. I know some fans maybe over the last few weeks with the Gardner Minshew debacle and that final game are worried about the play calling from Nick and Shane Steichen specifically. But my fear is Gannon's side of things. And I know he gets a lot of heat, but just for me is I don't want Daniel Jones to feel comfortable and getting the rhythm on his end. If they're going to play so far off, he can make 5-yard throws, 6-yard throws. Andy Dalton didn't miss a pass until that final throw of that first half when they played the Saints. I can't have that happen with the Giants, even though they only allowed 13 points in that game as the defense. But that is if there is something to go wrong, I think that might be the one.
All right, let's go down that path then, Hunter. I will point to the defenses around the NFL over the wild card weekend. Did anybody get any context from that? It is tough to play defense in the NFL these days. You see the big comeback by our buddy Doug and the Jags. Yeah. You see third-string quarterbacks lighting it up like it's a fireworks display against these defenses. Eagles are pretty good when you put them up against that. Are people too harsh on Jonathan Gannon?
I know I'm definitely one of them. Here's the thing is this is where I'm torn. I know 90% of what Jonathan Gannon, 95 is working. You look at what the numbers say, the sacks, the statistics all around the defense. It has a lot of tremendous value. That's great. And then there's that 5% that just irritates me that I can't get out of my head. So I know it works, and I know that there's times where even if guys are completing a ton of passes, if they don't make it in the end zone and they're kicking for 3, then, it's still a success at the end of the day because you're not going to win by just kicking field goals. It works. So that's where I'm kind of torn. It's like, I don't like the style and the way that
exactly.
it looks. Yeah.
People
and
don't like the style. And I agree with them. I don't like it either.
Yeah.
But they do it better than everybody else.
No, I think that's fair. It's like something that irritated me, for example, is going back to that Saints game. You're at home, and I'm okay with not having the ball first. I'm not one of those get the ball first, go down and score kind of thing. Like, I'm fine with the whole, but a 9-minute drive at the link, it sucks the life out of the building. Andy Dalton doesn't miss a pass until pretty much halftime. It's like, dude, and I get it. If Minshew just played below average football, you still probably win that game. He just played the worst football I've ever seen. Yeah. So, you still probably could have won, even if he was just a below average quarterback that day. But yeah, it's like that type of stuff. I can't get it out of my head, even though I'm willing to admit that Gannon has clearly done a great job this season. Those type of details, it's pissed me off.
And as a guy who gets a chance to talk to the Philadelphia fans, Hunter, like yourself, and I do too, the thing that I would more second guess Gannon on, the Eagle fans come down heavily on the blitz. Blitz. You got to blitz. We never blitz. Why don't we blitz? If we blitz, we kill the quarterback. Yeah. For me, where Gannon comes up short is, he's so committed to his zone defense, even though John told me earlier that, but they have man concepts, but they're zones. And most times when they're in zones, they're not playing press. Press means up in a guy's face, contest them on the line of scrimmage. That's a man-to-man defense. And he so infrequently plays that. I think you could play that and play it successfully against the Giants. Because really, do you really think Richie is going to get by you? Is Darius Slayton going to get a 60-yard catch? What's his name? Galladay got his one play. It's over. The Galladay 60-yard pass is not happening this week. I'm not worried about that a little bit. Do you think there's any chance Gannon actually lets his cornerbacks get up and press this week?
Probably not if we're just basing it off of what we've seen. But I agree. I always wonder, what does Darius Slay think of this game? Just if he could be 100% honest. He goes home after practice or whatever. He speaks to his wife. I wonder what he says. Like, is he thrilled? And, I know a big part of this too is I think once you lost CJ Gardner-Johnson, things change. Josiah Scott. I guess for me too, another thing just going back to Gannon is whenever there's you lose Devonta Maddox or one thing changes, I think he plays so much more scared. He plays so much more timid because one person goes down, which I get it. I mean, you're a different team with CJ Gardner-Johnson and Devonta Maddox on the field compared to a Josiah Scott, as we saw. But, I think that's something that he might have to push a little bit more, push to be uncomfortable because you still have so much lethal talent out there. But I think it kind of puts the wall up, back against the wall mentality when one guy goes down like that. I don't know. I mean, I kind of have to see it before I believe it kind of thing. But I'm with you. I mean, there's so much talent in this secondary. Are you maximizing Darius Slay? Like we talk about this second half isn't as strong as maybe
you guys
previous.
Are tough, man.
I'm just saying. Are you maximizing Slay? Can you get more out of him? I think you can.
Man, what do you do with if you're playing press? Now I got to defend Jonathan. What do you do if you're getting home with 4? Right? What do you do with the other 3 covers guy? What are they doing? If you're going to play press man, what are you doing? If you get home with 4, that's the whole point of getting home with 4. You got 7 guys to cover a lesser group of receivers. It's a math equation. The whole goal of every coordinator, even Wink Martindale, by the way, is to get home with 4. If you can get home with 4, the problem is most teams can't get home with 4 as often as the Eagles. I don't know, boy.
Well, all I'm asking for is just tighter coverage. Just some. I can't have 7 yards.
So you want more
separation.
zone match? You want more zone match, which the Eagles do, and they do a lot of. But and they do it more effectively than everybody else. So I go back to your point, and I think this point, Hunter, of yours is right on the button. People don't hate Jonathan Gannon; they hate the style of defense. They don't like the style of defense. And that's where I'm 100% on board. It's not fun. It's not, it's boring. but it's effective, at least for the Eagles.
And that's why it's hard for me to argue, because it's like, I know when I do bitch and complain, I'm bitching and complaining about 5% of what the defense does. But I guess my question, because what we do, we know the team's good in all this. We always find ourselves looking at what can go wrong. So then you start to really start looking at, well, is that going to end up being what ends up biting you in the ass kind of thing?
And here's my only knock on Gannon. You know, I'm a Gannon guy. John, I agree. He's a good, and he's probably going to become a head coach during this offseason. He will have earned it. But he is a little inflexible for me with the fact that he plays zone defense. Yes, I'm calling it zone defense, even if it's got man concepts. The fact that he doesn't let his corners get up and get physical is, I'm sorry, I'm not afraid of Richie James. I'm not afraid of Darius Slayton. I'm not afraid of Isaiah Hodgins. This week beat me over the top. If the Eagles play the defense, they play, because the biggest thing is don't give up chunk plays. Keep everybody in front of you and everybody tackles. Well, the only game they lost this year, legitimately lost, with their starting quarterback was because they let him take first downs all the way down the field and couldn't get off the field on third down. I don't want to see that happen to the Eagles again this week. I want to see them dare Richie James and or Darius Slayton to blow by either.
I like that Isaiah Hodgins. I don't sleep on him. He's a pretty good player.
Yeah, he can make some plays. Here's a take for you, though. I mean, like, to a degree, I'm not telling you all the time, but, you know, I know the big explosive plays is what they want to limit. I'm just saying, at some point, I would take a 2-play touchdown drive for the other team over like a 12-play 8-minute drive. You know?
Now, I think people would be incensed by that. I think they would turn on a dime, Hunter, and they would be absolutely
I'm with you on that one, Mac, man.
Yeah.
I think. What the hell were they doing?
You know what else? If you're playing man a lot, you also have to hope. I think Clete Blakeman's got the game this week. You got to hope that the officials are calling rub routes and things like that. Because if you got to worry about the officials and everybody's running rub routes about you because you're playing press coverage and they're essentially just blocking to get the player open, I don't like relying on zebras. That's part of the zone match theory as well.
But let me ask both of you guys this question, because I watch this a lot. There's Sundays, you're down, John, watching Eagles Pacific. Hunter, you're trying to watch everything. I have to, because I go on CBS Sports Radio and I got to talk about all the games. They're giving defensive backs more latitude. Second half of the season and in the playoffs, there were a whole bunch of plays where I thought, wow, last year that was an unquestioned pass interference penalty. I think they're actually letting the D-backs play here more. Second half of this season, first half of the.
Well, they usually let them play more in the playoffs. They usually do.
They
usually do.
And I thought that was the case last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the illegal man downfield with an offensive lineman a half yard too far. That's been the more frustrating one out of anything.
Yeah, and that's kind of baked into what the Eagles do, because they run so much zone read. Sometimes, you know, the offensive lineman thinks it's a running play, and all of a sudden Jalen pulls it, and you got an illegal man downfield. So you got to live with those things. But overall, I do find it an interesting sort of societal almost study of how Eagles fans want aggression. They want aggression. They want aggression. They want aggression. At what cost, though? I mean, you see A.J. Brown. You saw it in the game against the Giants in Week 18. Here comes Wink with the blitz. Bang. One-on-one, 50-50 ball. I think it was 37 yards down the field. Good luck corner with some of these receivers. Now, Jody makes a good point, though. Richie James, he's played well. Isaiah Hodgins, I think, you know, he's sort of their Travis Fulgham. Hopefully he'll hold up more than Travis Fulgham. Darius Slayton can run a little bit. But, you know, compared to most NFL teams, those receivers shouldn't scare you. What should scare you about the New York Giants, personnel-wise?
I think it starts with Saquon. Like, I think if they establish Saquon Barkley, that kind of opens up some other options, some of the names that you kind of laid out there, whether it's through play action or maybe just Daniel Jones can get a feel of the game a little bit more because they can get themselves in 3rd and manageable, 3rd and 2s, things like that. So I think it really does stem from the run game. I think if the Eagles can slow down Saquon to the best of their ability, that can kind of eliminate maybe some of the playbook and then force Daniel Jones to be in 3rd and 10 or maybe 2nd and 13 if you get a sack or whatever it is. You stop them short of the line of scrimmage or whatnot. I know that might be a simple take there, but I think that's kind of where it is for me, because as you mentioned, you look at their offensive weaponry in the passing game, it's not like much scares me. So it starts with that run game. I think everything opens up from there. And Daniel Jones, what, he carried 17 times last week?
Yeah. That's a bad defense, though.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, you'll never duplicate that level of success that he had running the ball on this team.
Yeah. Big plays this year for which are 20 yards or more. Darius Slayton, 12. Richie James, 3. Isaiah Hodgins, 3. And just in case you don't follow,
I think he had 4 against Minnesota.
Oh, okay. AJ Brown, 23. And Darius Devonta Smith, 18. So that's the comp between the Eagles wide receivers and the Giants wide receivers. So the answer to your question is, yeah, Daniel Jones with his legs. Do either of you buy the fact that the Eagles are well prepped? I've heard this put forth by Eagle fans. Hey, we can stop a running quarterback because we have to stop our own guy in practice. That is the biggest bunch of malarkey I've ever heard. Yeah, they tackle real hard in practice. Yeah, they're taking Jalen Hurts to the ground and tackle. So they're going to be able to defend Daniel Jones. That's the answer to the question, John. Daniel Jones taking off and making plays with his legs. Eagles really haven't faced the QB. The one guy they did was Jones earlier in the season, and Eagles jumped out to an early lead, and that kind of came out of their playbook. So if the game's close at halftime, Daniel Jones making plays with his legs scares me. How about you, Hunter?
I think maybe a play or two can happen throughout a game, but if you're telling me if the game's over, I'd be stunned if we sit here and go, whew, the Eagles really lost that one because Daniel Jones tore him apart with his legs. I just don't know if that's a winning formula over the entirety of the game for them to win because of Daniel Jones and his legs. So I don't think it's enough. Not with this defense and what they can do. Minnesota's defense, while it was nice for Dayball and them to get a win, and it's cool for the Giants, however you want to look at it, it's a different beast playing what the Eagles have, especially at the Link. So I can't see that being the I'd be floored. I'd be stunned if that's the game changer of it all. I just would be.
If he runs it in twice, just remember Brody's like, don't worry about Daniel Jones.
Well, if they're maybe if it's like a 2-yard run, you know what I'm saying? A little different. Yeah, I'm thinking of like the back breaking. It's third. It's
going to be the back breaking 70-yard run. The turf at Lincoln Financial Field will get him anyway.
That's right. That's right.
I joked about that Minnesota team. Ed Donatell's been coaching since I think 1927. I mean, he's been around forever. They played 18 games. I still don't know what they're trying to accomplish defensively. That is one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. So I wouldn't be too concerned about what the Giants did offensively. However, defensively, they got some talent. Xavier McKinney's back. Adoree Jackson's back. They weren't there when the Eagles destroyed the Giants at MetLife Stadium. They're good players. They're not great players. I don't want to overstate it. But when added to the mix, Dexter Lawrence is a great player. Leonard Williams is a great player. Julian Love is turning into a pretty good player. Starting to get some talent. We mentioned Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, Azeez Ojulari got injured. We'll see how he is this week. But starting to get some talent on the defensive side of the ball. Does that make you press pause a little bit?
Not really. I mean, because you're right. You're not wrong with anything you said. You're absolutely right with some of these names that you mentioned. But then I say A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders. The health of Lane Johnson is in question. But maybe like a week ago, I thought he'd give it a go. And then eventually we see Jack Driscoll. Not because I'm questioning Lane Johnson the bird. I'm just thinking like it seems like it's that brutal of an injury. But then I watched him practice and moving his feet a little bit. I'm like, yeah, you know what? If there is a guy to surprise me with this, maybe it is Lane Johnson. But no, I think we just, at the end of the day, while they have some nice players and some above average players in certain spots, I think there's just too much that the Eagles have for them to be able to handle. I think this is a nice W for the Birds. You open up as a touchdown favorite. You know, if it was like, why did we all know? Not that Vegas is everything, but when the line opened for Minnesota, and it's Minnesota minus the standard basic line at home with all those wins as a number 3 seed, here comes the Giants in your building, and the line is a basic 3. I mean, it's crazy. It tells you everything you need to know. The Eagles are 7.5, 8.5 in some places. Not that the line's everything, but I value that type of stuff.
Real quick, Hunter, now that you brought that up, what are the 49ers minus 3.5 against Dallas? What does that tell you?
Tells me Dallas has a shot. Tells me Dallas has a shot. Yeah.
I saw that line. I thought the same thing. And I agreed with you with that Minnesota line. I'm like,
but
wow.
they don't put the line out till after the game's over, and the Cowboys were impressive last night. So it's where I looked, it's already moved to 4, and I think it could go.
Yeah, I think I saw originally 4, but still, even 4 is, it still tells me Dallas has a shot. But I don't know. I don't know if yesterday was Dallas played well, obviously, but is Tampa that bad that they were able to kind of do whatever they wanted to do? I know.
They're that bad.
I know. All right, last one for me. And John just ran down the defensive backs, 1 corner, 1 safety, Jackson and McKinney, who are back in the line, weren't there when the Eagles put up the 48 spot against them earlier this year. The slot, not a big Darnay Holmes fan. Are we going to have to bank on Quez Watkins making a play or two here in this game? If you're evaluating the other team and where you think you can actually get an advantage, could this be a Quez game for the Eagles?
Oh, man, I really hope not.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Hunter. I got to jump in. No such thing.
Yeah, we have a theory on our show. It's less Quez Watkins is better than, it's the best thing for the Eagles is less Quez Watkins. I'm almost stunned in disbelief that I even have to. Not for 1 second in my life did I think I'd have to bank on a Quez Watkins game in a postseason effort. So my answer is going to be no. You're going to find other ways to get this ball rolling. I would be shocked if we go with a Quez Watkins effort. Look, maybe there might be a pass or two that just naturally happens throughout a game, but I think A.J. Brown, Devonta in the passing game still going to be the money ball.
Yeah. How about this, Jody? A Quez Watkins play. Maybe you get that. Maybe he runs by somebody, you get a big play.
Yeah, I was going 2. And just 1 play doesn't count. You got to make 2 to be a significant contributor to a game. And if it's only 2, they got to both be pretty damn big. But can Quez make 2 plays in this game against the Giants on Sunday?
I don't know, but I know the Boston Scott touchdown's inevitable, right?
Coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. The Eagles are going to troll them with that.
Shoot, I meant to check that this morning. It was 3-1 last game. Anytime Boston Scott touchdown. You're not getting more than plus 240.
Should be minus 600 if we're being honest.
There's a guy who knows the lines. Hunter knows exactly what he's talking about.
At Broads81, follow Hunter on Twitter, one of the hosts of the best show ever on 97.5, The Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia as well, the simulcast. I'll leave you with this. We had a little bit of breaking news here. The Cleveland Browns hired their new defensive coordinator. It is Jim Schwartz. The sticks are back, baby.
That's right. Good for the Browns. That's right.
Who do Eagle fans dislike more, Jim Schwartz or JG?
I think it's JG. I think it's JG. Yeah. But man, what a good for the brand, for the Schwarzenegger. Yeah. I'm pumped.
I did a spot on a Cleveland radio station yesterday, as a matter of fact, after we wrapped up Birds 365. And the host asked me if the Browns were looking for a defensive coordinator, which would be better, Flores, who was potentially leaving Pittsburgh, and or Jim Schwartz. My response was, I think you're okay either way. Either one's an upgrade from what Cleveland had on the defense side of the ball last year. But I would have taken Flores over Schwartz. How about you, Brody?
Yeah, come on. I'm a Jim Schwartz guy.
I'm a Jim Schwartz guy.
It runs through the blood.
You guys are both Schwartz.
I run deep, I'm a Jim Schwartz. I'm a Jim Schwartz truther, man.
That's right.
Great
truther.
Absolutely. The best.
Or do you mean overstater?
No, he's a great coach. I'm being honest.
Great coach.
He really is. One of the smartest defensive minds. He knows everything about
elite. Some would say.
Yeah.
One of these days when the Eagles playoff run is come and gone, maybe end in a Super Bowl parade, you and I can sit around and somehow come up with a definition of Jim Schwartz as a great defensive coordinator. Because
it's great.
Sorry, I'm not buying that. I'm not attaching the word great to Jim Schwartz. Not happening. Hunter, great stuff. You are great. We do appreciate you. Did a great appearance. I have no problem using that word here. Thank you much for jumping in, and we hope to get you back on again because the Eagles will be on a nice long playoff run. Thanks, bud.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Hunter.
Brody from the best show ever here with us on Birds 365. All right, Johnny Mac coming back to put a bow on the show. Stay with us.